Hey, it's prime. We're 3 balls in, then we 3 balls out. We all up on your screens like it's prime time's route. Mighty gets a score, and and PJ start to scout. Your rhymes really trash, what do you think he's damn fouls? TBI the show, so buckle down, sit back. And Jay we trust, cause he's the leader of the pack. It's prime, Jewball.
This is TBI 3 Balls In, episode 2 of the second season. Boys, we've got a lot coming up this week. The draft party, which should be exciting. Number 1, who's going to be the first overall, second overall, third overall, fourth overall pick, which we'll get in later in the show. Obviously, we're going to recap week number 1, but a big shout out to Steve-O for making our new entry poster and for Prime giving us that beautiful, amazing intro song, something that TBI has definitely been lacking. This is definitely something that is fresh, new, and awesome. So thank you, Steve-O, and thank you, Prime. Boys, what do we think? What's going on?
New season, same old wizard, new intro, new Davo. Let's go.
Boys, I finally made it. I'm finally part of the show. I've been on a temporary contract since week 4 or whatever it is, and I finally made it onto the show. Now I can just say anything I want, right? Now that we know I'm here to stay, we've got a logo. I can do whatever I want. I can just not even talk. But either way, super stoked. Week 1 in the books. Draft party coming up. It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited.
You could probably rip on people and no one will care.
That's
Did that
true.
happen already? Has that happened?
Yeah, that does happen. All right, guys, let's talk about week number 1. Oh, wow. 2 games at the same time. This was not a tournament. Yes, this was a regular season week 1, which featured Zez versus Fight and Yaron versus Prey. We had the rematch of Bop versus Lionheart's semifinal game. And then we had obviously not a rematch, but sort of a homecoming of Zez coming in literally, what do you call it? A red eye from Israel? I don't know, what do you even call that? That's a real, that's a real red eye right there.
That's
a real red eye right there.
6:30, yeah.
Yeah, real red eye there, getting in, making it for the game. And then, of course, Fight coming back. A lot of question marks about Fight after last season. First half went well, second half not as well. So a lot of question marks about what he would do. And these guys battled back and forth. Ivry was a big part of that game, having huge contributions on defense and offense. Solo left his mark in the game. Zez obviously doing what he does on defense, couple picks, ran one in for a touchdown. That's what Zez does. And they have a 3-3 tie. There was some controversy at the end because Fight could have won the game. Missed Goldberg. Again, it's a tough one. Obviously, that's something that he'll, beat himself over because, everybody wants to win. But a beautiful game right there. And then 1B, Prey, Prey really went after your own there. I mean, you talk about destroying somebody week 1. Last year, they tied 1-1 in the first week of the season. This year, Prey was out for blood. Red Sunday, Davo, right? Red Sunday. Well, it was all red on Yaron yesterday. What a tremendous win by Prey. And Yaron's got some question marks because obviously you start off with the way he did, but just looking at the video, he looked good, right? He looked good getting out of the pocket, moving around, but totally dominated him in that game. These things do happen. Quarterbacks are going to be shaky week to week, but really a lot of question marks about Yaron going into the draft.
All right, so I guess we're getting on Yaron right away. Straight trash. One thing I will say about Yaron in this last game, he did not throw a pick, which is a little bit surprising since that's what he's usually good for. But from what I saw from the highlights and, reading the stat sheets, it just looked like the line play was just so dominant. I think 11 sacks between the two teams, and it really causes disruption for a guy like Yaron, whose game plan in last year's leagues was just quick dumps, quick passes. And I think that he has to get into some rhythm with some guys that he didn't play with in a while. So I think he will be okay. Not good, but okay. And Prey is just damn good. I mean, both games, he's just on the money. Logan, what do you think?
You guys are crazy. Yaron's going to be fine. You guys are insane. Like, as far as pure arm talent goes, he's got to have the best arm in the league. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Again, it's fun to rank, it's fun to trash on him, but Yaron's going to be fine. Whoever's going to be on that team is going to score points. You don't have to worry about that. week
Okay,
one, everyone's a little bit rusty. I don't know if you can actually take anything away. I think, we got to see, you basically getting the rust off before league weeks. That's really what week one is, right? That's what preseason and week one is.
Logan, I'm going to take you to task here. Matt Ryan, everyone said, oh, going to the Colts, he'll be great. No problem. He's a year older. Listen, Yaron is not a spring chicken. He's competing against quarterbacks in their 20s. He's 40. He's not a young guy anymore.
I think only praised in his 20s.
Oh, that's true. Fight's early 30s.
Guys,
but anyway,
that'd be something if Yaron relied on his legs. He doesn't.
No, he relies on his mind, which is the problem. Listen, I happen to think Yaron is a very good quarterback. He overthinks too much, and when he gets a lot of pressure on the line, it kicks into overdrive. That overthinking.
He wasn't overthinking. What he did wrong yesterday was he kept trying to go to Jack. Every single time he needed a big play, he wanted to go to Jack, and Storm was all over it. How can we not highlight Storm's play yesterday? Touchdown in game one, making a bunch of defensive plays throughout the game. He was really into that game. Listen, Yaron didn't utilize MK well enough. Morty, sorry. He didn't utilize, Maora enough. There are a lot of guys in that field. And obviously, shout out to Moore. I hope he gets better. A little injury yesterday. But the point is that Yaron went to Jack too often, and it was too predictable. This is the one argument we've been saying for a long time. Quarterbacks are successful when they spread the ball around to all their receivers. When they're constantly trying to go to one guy, that's when they leave themselves vulnerable. And that's what happened to Yaron yesterday. Losing 4-1. That's it. That's what happens.
It's interesting, and obviously, nothing you can do about the randomizer, but I would have thought Zezi and Prey are more similar quarterbacks, and Fight and Yaron aren't. And that's, again, prior to teams coming out, that's what I thought the matchups were going to be. I thought it was interesting because, you got the more mobile quarterbacks versus the more pocket throwers. I thought it was just interesting to see that the randomizer decided to play it out as is.
I'm pretty sure Jordan wanted to play with Fight. I think that's really what it came down to. So, and I think Jordan
he wanted to play with Zezi. So.
Exactly. So the randomizer.
So see, the randomizer, even the randomizer has an override button.
That's true.
I want to talk about something for a second. I think the most under-talked about person since last season has been Ivry. Last year we had a lot of people talking about, Logan came on the show for the first time before he signed his contract, that he's the hardest person to guard. And I think, with the emergence of Scoot and all the new rookie linemen and, baby Dax, I think Avery kind of took a back seat to them. But this is a guy who was the touchdown leader. He's leading in touchdowns per games already. He had 2, and Fight didn't throw a lot last year. So he caught Fight's 2 touchdowns. I think Fight had one more. I forget to who.
It was 3-3, yeah. So
right. So but Ivry is a beast. I think he's bigger. I don't know if he's faster now, but he's bigger, stronger. I think this guy's going to be a monster, and I think people are overlooking him. Okay,
I don't think anybody overlooks him. He was a guest on this show last year. We had a funny interaction with Ivry last year. Ivry's great. What was he, a 3rd-round pick last year? I mean, he's now moved himself into the 2nd round, maybe even 1st round, which we'll get to a little bit later. But I mean, Ivry's definitely not overlooked, and you shouldn't overlook Ivry. But who had a bigger day yesterday, Logan? Zada? Sorry, I had to do that. Zada or Ivry?
Well, I didn't know what Zada's stats were in game one.
Zada had 2 touchdowns in game one, 3 touchdowns overall on the day.
2 games
and a pick
and game winner in game 2. That's a big day. That's hard to argue with, right? 2 touchdowns and game winner. It's hard to argue with that.
Also, 3rd-round pick last year. Something to think about.
Look, and again, we also a 3rd-round pick. The draft was deep last year, and we've only added 8 more great players. You know what I mean? Like if you think about the rooks, not just Rook. By the way, stop signing up as the Rook. It's Rook, not the Rook. Okay, it's Rook.
It's not settled down the Rook. It's settled down
right.
Rook.
It's settled down Rook. Anyway, if you think about that entire rookie class, right? So you got Rook, you got Ernie, you got Walt, so those guys are all coming in. Then you have this year's rookie class who is now allowed to play. So we've literally added like basically 2 more rounds of guys who could easily go in the top 4 rounds. So like,
but you just remind me of something, just something else to point out. Think about yesterday, right? 3 games happened. Think about who didn't play yesterday. You didn't have Singer out there. You didn't have Ernie out there. I didn't play.
Steve-O.
Steve-O didn't play.
Legs
Didn't play. So, I mean, you had a lot of notable absences yesterday, and yet these games filled up really well. So just to add, I'm adding to your point, Logan, with all the talent that's out there. Let's talk about it. Davo's been going crazy. He wants to talk about the draft. Let's jump into the draft, guys. Let's talk about it. Our first round, we kind of know who the top 3 are going to be. Who's the guy who's going to go 4th?
it's a great question. So I have to assume that you are hinting at something.
Well, the question is do you value linemen over receivers?
So like, let's put it this way. I assume your top 4 players, some are linemen and some are not, right? Like, right?
Well, is Singer a lineman or is he not? I haven't gotten clarification. According to Moore, he's just a lineman, right?
Well, according to Moore, I mean, he's also the MVP of last year.
Okay, so let's do it like this. Because there's been rumors going around that Munch may play, Munch may not play.
But let's subtract Munch from the equation. We know it's going to be Solo, Singer, Mighty, top 3, whichever order. Right?
Forget about the order, right? But
whichever order that is top 3. Who is in the 4th spot? Who do you go? Logan.
So it depends. Do I also have the 5th spot?
No, we're not doing Snake.
What? So
You're not going Snake.
I think we broke Logan.
All right. So we're not doing Snake. And by the way, Dax is getting the last pick, right? So he's getting the worst player. I mean, Avery's not a bad pick right there, but like he needs some help blocking. DK is a great pick right there. If he's worried about running, like.
All right, Logan, pick one guy. Who's rounding out your top round?
Is it Dax as the quarterback?
Dax is the quarterback.
I'm sorry, he's picking 4th.
I mean, again, we're assuming that we don't know the order. Who's going to be in that top? Again, it could be Dax.
No, so like a guy like Yaron doesn't need line as much as other players, right? So if it's Yaron, he's going to go wide receiver. He's going to go someone big. It could be Jack. It could be Avery.
You say that, but he lost yesterday, getting sacked 5 times.
I know, but like he's honestly, you could pick up. There are plenty of serviceable top tier or second tier linemen. Guys like Tom, guys like guys who will get the job done and will and be huge additions to your team. Maybe not first round talent, but plenty of guys there that you can build your team around, right? So if you're not getting a guy like Solo with your first round pick, like you could fill that later. So a guy like Yaron is happy to have, that second tier, if you will, type lineman. So he may not take DK right away. He may take a top tier wide receiver, someone who he loves. He loves Jack. So like maybe someone like Jack, maybe he goes with someone like Avery. He thinks Avery's going to have a ridiculous season. So if it's my point is, if it's your road, I could see him going wide receiver. So I would go with, let's say, someone like Avery. If it's Dax, it could be someone who I think he needs a little more stability in the line. He probably would go with DK.
Davo?
Damn, that answer was too thought out. No, I think it's just DK. I think that the run wide receivers are probably going to start really in the second round, Mighty excluded because Mighty is just Mighty. Second round, you have Jack, Avery, Scoot, Zada, Goldberg, all these people can fill in at prime, right? You're gonna have a big run on them. And then, like you said, even a guy like Open could be a very serviceable lineman that you can maybe get that second or that third, where you can take a elite wide receiver in the first and still end up with a guy like Open in the second or third, or like you said, a Bubba or he
also is serviceable line. Like all these guys, you can win with those guys. Those will not be guys who hurt your team.
even a PJ's in the 13th round can help you block.
Look, as the weeks get later on, that bench gets cold. You need someone to keep it warm.
Especially with the jobbers.
That is true.
But so PJs, who you think?
I think it's obvious here. I think it really goes down to, I honestly don't think another lineman jumps up. I think Ivry or Jack, or I can even see a guy like Zada moving into the first round. I think it depends on, you need a guy who is going to not just give you offense, but also give you defense. All three of those guys give you both. They play both ends really well. I think Jack, I believe, again, I can't tell you for certain, looking at the statistics, that Jack averaged a ton of picks. I think he averaged close to a pick a game when he played. So Jack gives you that on defense. Zada is can be a lockdown corner, can play safety. He could do a lot for you.
Jack actually averaged the most touchdowns per game last season.
Right, it's also true, right? Offensively, but I'm talking about defense also. I mean, you don't just draft for offense; you draft for defense as well, because ultimately you want to shut down other teams. All those guys can fill the role of safety. Every can play a safety role. They'll give you the back end of the defense. I think there's a ton of line in this draft. I wouldn't rush to get line. I think a guy like Legs, you could probably nail in the second or third round as well, because he gives you so much on the D line, maybe less on the O line, but if you're going to get him to commit to O line, he's a dominant lineman as well. I think there's a lot of linemen later in the draft. I would hold on to DK's second or third round pick. I think it's either Ivry, Zeta, or Jack, or Zada or Jack, immediately round out the first round. One of those guys are going to do it.
Okay, so let me give you this scenario, right? Let's say hypothetically Solo goes first. Okay, now you're looking, right? You're looking for the next.
The answer's Singer.
No. You're looking for the next best lineman. Are you going to let DK fall to that second round where possibly he can go to fight? You could have a Solo DK line. I'm pretty sure we had something like that last season.
I'm pretty sure Fight tried to do that maneuver last year and missed out on a lot of wide receiver talent as a result of that. I don't think Fight would do that again. I think he takes Solo, who gives you so much. Again, you can get another pairing.
By the way, speaking of which, we haven't even mentioned our number 2 pick from last year, Cut. Like, that's another lineman who, like,
correct.
You know
Correct.
what I mean?
Well, he's top tier, right? He's top
but
tier.
I'm just saying, like, we're deep in linemen. We're deep.
That's why I wouldn't go first round of line. I think this is a draft where you get the best available wide receiver, defensive cornerback talent.
I think the cronies proved that wrong, because if you look at Yaron's team last year, he had
he was deep in wide receiver. And
Singer, Jack, Ivry, Zada. First four picks were the best wide receivers.
But that's also because guys like Steve-O and Jordan, who can be lockdown defenders, fell in the draft last year. And I think that kind of gets into my next point. Who are the players who fall in the draft this year, who potentially could fall, who are higher last year but could fall this year, not because their talent has gone down, but because maybe their usage is not as needed this year? Who's the player you think maybe falls a little bit?
I don't know if he's going to be like one of those, like, not like a Steve type player where he comes in and he majorly affects the game, but I think people definitely overlook him, and I love a guy like Tabak. I think Tabak is a guy you maybe get a little later at that kind of that end of the starters, beginning of the alternates. I think he might even fall too, but Tabak is consistency. Tabak is a Stella, you know. You don't the beer, yeah. You don't go and buy Stella, right? But if you're at a party and someone goes, "Hey, you want a beer?" And you go, "What you got?" "I got Stella." You're like, "Okay, I could drink that." Everyone can play with Stella. I think Tabak is that guy.
So
he just fits in perfectly. You need him to play corner, he'll go and play corner. You need him to catch the ball, he'll catch it. Grabs flags. He's just consistent. And that's my take on Tabak. I think he's like I said, like a 6th, 7th, 8th round guy. He'll go, but I think he comes in and he always plays hard.
We might not even know, right? How deep are we going?
We're going deep. Logan, give us your take. Who do you think falls in this year's draft?
I don't know about falls, but I think let me phrase it slightly differently. I think an impact player that you're going to grab after the 4th round, but will make a significant impact on a team, I think it might be Davo. I could see I could see teams.
Who says I'm going after the fourth?
I can see teams forgetting about Davo, thinking about linemen, not realizing the impact he has both as a tight end, as a middle linebacker. Like Davo had a huge season last season, and like it's something that we probably don't talk about because he's on the show. But like I can see Davo being a big impact piece to a team that wants to make a long run into the championships.
You're saying you can see Davo falling potentially to the 6th or 7th round?
No, I don't know that far, but I could see him being in the 5th round. I could see him being the most significant player of that round.
Keep in mind, he was the 5th round pick last year, so it's not an insult.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
I thought he was in the 4th. I thought he was 4th.
Yeah,
he was 5th round. So again, that's not.
Oh, then maybe he could be. Then he easily could be. No offense, like we're all going to drop down one round, I think, just because of extra beef at the top. So like, he could be a 6th round pick this year.
I can name every player drafted before me last season.
Okay.
Go for it.
Calm down. No. Calm down. No.
That'll make great radio.
Calm down. All right, here we go. I'll give you my take. This is an easy one, and I love these guys, but couldn't know. I don't think either one of them are going to be drafted as high as they were last year. Again, they're not dropping because.
Oh, I mean, come on. Quick can only go one more space up.
Yeah. No,
Well, now that Munch isn't playing, could go one.
Coult's not going
We're
one.
picking first. Who knows?
Could had a great first week of the season, picking up 6 sacks, but still, I think Could not because his talent has gotten worse or less. It's because I think the need for linemen, if Munch is out or doesn't play enough this season, and especially if a guy like Bosch is joining himself into the league as well, coming back after a long hiatus, there's a lot of line talent in the draft. I think a guy like Cook can end up in the 3rd or 4th round. I think a guy like O can end up in the 4th or 5th round. These are guys who, I've said it since I've been playing with him. There is no one in the game who grabs flags as well and chases down guys as well as O. I mean, Cook pound for pound can block anybody, for the most part. These guys are not, to be taken lightly, but I think just because of the talent level that's there on offense and defense, they're going to fall. They're just going to fall because there's just too much top heavy talent on the offensive receiver end. Yeah.
There are a lot of hidden gems, and like saying that, it doesn't mean that just that they have to go late. A guy like Steve-O, if you get Steve-O in the 4th, I think that's also a steal because he
went 6th last year. So he really should go up.
But I'm saying, like, there's just so many guys you'll find later. He won 7th last year. He might go the same, might go lower. But again, he's a guy that was very consistent and a guy that's very good. They're just like so many people. The league is so stacked right now with talent. Like you're forgetting about a guy like Rook. Where does Rook go? He's one of the fastest guys on the field.
Well, I mean, Waldo didn't have himself an amazing day yesterday, but Waldo he's a talent also.
For a big season.
Yeah.
A guy like Sting. Who knows what Veg could be? Who knows? Veg might just be forgotten about completely, and this might end up in like the 8th, 9th round.
If I had to bet, Veg does not go in the 7th round.
And I had to bet that Veg does not go to fight either.
If there's an odd amount of people and Veg's the last pick and he automatically goes to fights team, that'll be pretty funny.
Yeah, and I think another hidden gem, and Davo, you're going to get a little flack for this one, but another hidden gem is going to be Storm, because again,
I agree.
He went 3rd round last year. I really think, and again, Storm, don't take this as an insult. I think you go 3rd round again this year, but it's different. I think you're noticed.
By the way, if you stay in the same round this year, that's a step up. Do you know what I mean? Like staying flat to last year with the added talent, that's a step up. So going in the 3rd round again, that's a people are on notice.
And by the way, a guy like Storm, because he's really so good on both ends of the field, right? When he's when he's healthy, when he's motivated. I mean, this guy.
His routes are crisp. His running is precise. His hands are money. Like he's good.
And by the way, if you took him in the second round, you wouldn't be making a mistake either. You really would be doing yourself service by taking him.
He just needs to grow a couple inches. He'll get there one day. Maybe when he's like 18 or 19 or something.
Storm is also an energizer. So like your team, he will, if your team's down a couple, he'll bring you back in.
Right.
Because he always makes that big play and he gets you
Stat
pumped.
counted guy. He's the stat counted guy.
He is stat that.
He's also a guy who wants the ball in the big spot. That's a guy, and he's not going to call for it. He's just going to get himself open. Think about big touchdowns last year. Week 1, tying it up. Catching the game tying touchdown in week 1 last year. Then there was the Cronies versus Fight Club game 1. First game, he goes ahead and gets a game tying touchdown. It would have been a loss for Fight Club, but they tied it at the last second. Fight hits him over the middle for a touchdown. I mean, there's been a lot of moments where, and then the stat counted from a couple of years ago. There's been a lot of moments where Storm has really, really risen to the occasion. I'd be interesting to see if Fight doesn't get him, because Fight really does like having a guy like Storm around. It'd be interesting if someone steals him before Fight does, but we'll see what happens.
Well, fortunately for Fight, he's picking first in every round, so no one should really have the ability to steal him from Fight.
Don't tell him that. He might pick Storm number 1. Logan, I got to ask you a question because you played game 2 with me. Do you feel like both is becoming, can become a hindrance on the game for players, not necessarily quarterbacks, but for positional players? Because I feel like maybe the guys that played both might not have brought the same intensity in game 2 as they did game 1. I don't know what your feeling is. PJs, you weren't really there, so I mean, you could definitely weigh in, but you didn't necessarily see what we saw.
I'm with you. I think for about 80% of the league, and again, let's leave the quarterbacks aside, about 80% of the league should not be ever putting in both. They just don't have the motive for it, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever it is. Some guys lay off after they get the W. Some guys are pissed off after they get the L and they don't really play as well. Like we saw a lot of lackadaisical blah types of plays in game 2. And I do attribute it to a lot of people thinking they can play both, and they can. And by the way, if anyone has any problem with me calling you guys out, we can go run a marathon tomorrow. I'll go side by side with you. You pick the pace, but I'll be there running it. So like, if you don't have the motor for it, just like, that's okay, but don't put in both, because it ruins the game. And for the guys who only play one game, it kind of sucks when your game is got, 40% of people who are kind of stuck in second gear. So yeah, no, I'm with you. I think both is not great. Again, there are some exceptions to the rule. There are some guys who can bring it for both, but I think everyone should be taking a deep hard look at themselves.
I don't want to make this debate, but guys, it's 1 week. It's the first week.
It happens often.
Not everyone played preseason.
I think it's just a mentality thing. You're gearing up because, like you see the teams, right? So you're in game 1, you see the teams. Okay, I'm on X team and you're pumping up and I'm going against these guys and you're getting pumped up. And then comes game 2 and you're just mentally not in it as much. Or could we talk about Dax for a second though? That guy could play. I mean, we dropped a lot of his passes in the beginning. I think everyone was guilty.
I think every single receiver dropped at least one pass.
But he's on the money.
You know who didn't drop his pass in July 4th? This guy.
Your one pass?
Hey, it was a touchdown.
That's all you need.
Only one matters.
But like he's the anti-Aaron. His huddles are simple. He explains every play that he wants you to do. He doesn't make up some random names that no one's ever heard of when he's creating a play. And it's just basic. You do this, you do that. And he has touch. I love Yaron. Let's take that back. Yaron has a cannon of an arm. Like you said, he could throw it the whole field in one shot. But when he's throwing a screen to you or it's a 2-yard slant, he's gunning it 60 miles per hour to you. Dax just gives you that little touch that's perfect right in your hands every time. And it's, not ever playing with him.
All right, Dave,
stop
using TBI to get yourself drafted by Dax. All right, boys. All right, boys. Thursday night, big stuff. Everyone better be there. Even if you didn't sign up, even if you didn't welcome or volunteer to do something for it, being there is your obligation to Jewball. Come out, come see us. The three of us will be hosting live TBI in person on Thursday night. And it's going to be one wild party. It's going to be great. Thank you, Ben, for hosting, using your house again. Boys, what are we?
We are 3 balls in.
And we are finally 3 balls out. Good night, everybody.
All right, boys.
We're 3 balls in and we 3 balls out. We all up on your screens like it's prime time's route.